There's no evidence that Hunter Biden has done anything wrong.
There is no evidence of any wrongdoing between by Joe Biden, or by Hunter Biden.
There's no evidence that Joe Biden actually did anything wrong or did anything to sway things in Hunter Biden's favor. He's denied that his son ever lobbied him for anything.
There is nothing wrong that Vice President Biden did.
President Trump has falsely accused your son of doing something wrong while serving on a company board in Ukraine. I want to point out there's no evidence of wrongdoing by either one of you.
There is no evidence that anybody did anything illegal regarding the Bidens and Ukraine, and Joe Biden was carrying out U.S. policy.
Man, no evidence. I don't know how they got that guilty plea. Joining me now, Vince Coglianese. He is the host of the Vince Coglianese Show. Vince, where did all this evidence come from? I was told repeatedly there was no evidence.
I think a lot of it came from Hunter Biden's laptop, which has been in the possession of the United States federal government for now. We're approaching a decade now, I think, of the evidence that they've had. Yeah, they've had this evidence all along. Everything from 10% for the big guy, treating his dad as the chairman, dad jumping on phone calls with all of his business partners, greasing the tracks for millions of dollars from places like Ukraine and China, and the wife of the Moscow mayor. There's an endless trail of evidence that leads back to Joe Biden and using his jobs in the federal government in corrupt ways to enrich his family. But what we lack is curiosity. The mainstream press has no interest whatsoever in the story, continues not to be up to this very day. And that includes while Joe Biden is not even in the running anymore for the next president of the United States.
Vince, this looks to me, I just said it in the open, this looks to me like an obvious thing. They're going to go ahead and get the conviction out of the way so Joe Biden can get the pardon out of the way as they wheel him out the back door. But please correct me if I'm wrong. Am I missing something?
I don't think you're missing anything. In fact, this makes all the sense in the world for a bunch of reasons. So today, and even in the way it's being described, he's like, oh, he's pleading guilty. Not exactly. It's like a weird technicality they're working on. There's something called an Alford plea, apparently. And essentially, he's going to say, I'm innocent, but the evidence sure makes me look guilty. So I'll just go with that. That's the claim he's trying to make today. And here's what we know. One, it's going to end up saving the Biden family a ton of money that they would have to spend in a courtroom, so they're not spending it now. And two, we all know that Joe Biden is going to pardon this guy. It's not like he's going to let his son take the fall for this. So a pardon is coming. And what that also means is, remember that sweetheart plea deal that was built to make Hunter Biden, all of his problems go away? Well, Joe's going to come through in the end. Unless Joe kicks it before the pardon comes through, Hunter Biden's going to get out of here with a pardon. And so that's clearly, everybody with two brain cells to rub together can see where this story's headed.
Yeah, might want to put a rush on that. All right, let's talk about this Russian thing that dropped down yesterday, courtesy of the DOJ, FBI. Honestly, the details of the whole thing, I really don't care about, Vince. A couple Ruskies get charged, some money gets tossed around. What blows me away is how quickly people on our side will go from the DOJ's weaponized, they're evil, they're lying about everything. And then the second some pundit who has a job they want gets charged, they run and side with the DOJ. I don't understand why the right participates in left-wing ops every time they do one. Every time the right will participate.
Well, yeah, I mean, how many times do you have to hear the boy cry wolf before you're like, I don't think there's a wolf. Yes. I think this is a lie. This has happened over and over and over again. And by now, if you're not wise to it, I think it says something about your judgment, or it certainly says something about maybe your cowardice. I don't know. Right now, it's obvious to me, as it sounds like it's obvious to you, that we shouldn't in any way reflexively believe the Justice Department here, given that their behavior is in the run-up to each election, in the closing days of those elections, they always conjure up a Russian threat and then later tell us that, well, it wasn't quite as bad as we thought it was, or the evidence seems to suggest that there were no American interests even involved. And it's just always garbage. And what it is election interference. What it's meant to do, I think, two things. One, once again, suggest that Donald Trump or his allies are in bed with the Russians to get Trump elected, which is bogus. And two, it's meant to silence speech in the United States on issues that Americans genuinely have real opinions about. Like, maybe we shouldn't be spending so much money in Ukraine. Maybe we shouldn't be sending all of our weapon stockpiles to Ukraine. Maybe having so many hundreds of thousands, millions of people killed in Ukraine in the end won't actually redound to either their benefit or our benefit. That's a reasonable discussion to have in the United States. And what I'm seeing the Justice Department do in the last 24 hours is try and take that off the table and say, if you say that, well, you're just a Putin stooge.
Vince, the debate next week, September 10th. I just have a hard time seeing how this goes poorly for Trump. Dome can't speak about anything. She just doesn't know anything about anything. And now she won't have Trump interrupting her, which she was obviously banking on. So how does this go wrong for Trump? What am I not seeing?
I don't think it goes wrong for Trump. First of all, it's just brilliant that the Trump campaign, they first argued, they're like, hey, can we get 3 debates with Kamala? And Kamala's campaign response, no. You only get 1 debate with Kamala. Those were the rules you set up with Biden. Okay. All right, we're going to stick to the rules we set up with Biden then. And that includes muting the microphones. So the Trump campaign turns around and said, let's do that again. And I don't blame them because look how well it went the first time. Like, if you're going to try and duplicate a victory, you may as well look back at the strategy that worked in the past. And here's Kamala's problem. Biden's brain doesn't function, which is why he ran into the problems he did with trying to complete sentences before that microphone got muted. Kamala's brain doesn't function, not because of age, but she's just dumb and she's not good at communicating. And as a result, there's a high probability that she's going to be halfway through some sort of poetic development in her head, and it's not going to make it past the finish line. And that microphone will go off, and Trump will be able to react and look at her and go, what was that? That was crazy. This is going to work great. And I think, I hate to set expectations so low for Kamala, but I'm expecting a disaster out of her.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.